They sold my inheritance car for her MBA. What was revealed at graduation left everyone shocked. Sarah could hardly breathe as the auditorium buzzed around her. The excitement in the air felt like a foreign substance, a thick fog suffocating her heart. She gripped the graduation program in her lap, the ink smudging with every tightening fist. It was happening. Lily was about to take the stage, the sister she had grown up with, the sister who had just sold their father's legacy, the '67 Mustang, for an MBA. It felt like an unthinkable betrayal, a stab to the very core of their family identity. How could she stand by and watch as Lily's achievement overshadowed the memory of their father, a man whose love and sacrifice lay buried within the cold metal frame of that car? As the crowd erupted into thunderous applause, Sarah's mind raced. She replayed every moment of her childhood spent in the garage with their father, hands covered in grease, learning about engines and dreams. Each turn of the wrench had forged an unbreakable bond. Now all that felt like it was crumbling before her eyes. She was proud of Lily, but the anger churning inside was a violent storm, creating rifts in her heart. How could Lily have done this? Didn't she understand what that car meant to them, to their father's memory? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Lily's name echoed through the hall, Sarah's heart twisted painfully. The announcement rang hollow. In that moment, she felt like a ghost, watching her sister ascend to heights they had both dreamed of. Yet all Sarah could think was that those dreams had once been wrapped in the tenderness of childhood reminiscing and shared goals. The Mustang had represented more than horsepower. It was their father's emotional legacy that had powered their lives. As Lily walked across the stage, Sarah's envy clashed with her deep-seated pride, leaving her paralyzed in her seat, every clap around her resonating like a mockery of her feelings. When Lily was presented with a surprise award for her research addressing economic inequality fueled by their father's undying hustle, Sarah nearly gasped. The entire room buzzed with fervor, but inside Sarah was in turmoil. How could a car sell out the essence of familial pride be replaced by a mere degree? Each clap was an echo of a sorrow unaddressed. Every thanks from Lily felt like a punch, a reminder that the Mustang, their family's emotional backbone, had been sacrificed for the sake of academic ambition. Just as Lily began to read their father's heartfelt letter, a dam of memories burst within Sarah. The letter was meant for the younger sister, the one who had slipped away, leaving Sarah clinging to barren nostalgia. Each written word hung heavily in the air, a stark contrast to what had been lost. It was a revelation that clawed at her insides. Was the Mustang just a car, or had it been the very fabric of their connection? Would Lily's recognition only widen the chasm of bitterness festering inside Sarah? As the room filled with applause, Sarah's resolve cracked. She needed to confront Lily but was terrified. Could she expose the raw wound without destroying what little was left of their bond? Would voicing her anger push them farther apart, or bridge the chasm of betrayal? Heart racing and hands trembling, Sarah took a deep breath, ready to step into the whirlwind of emotion. The auditorium seemed to close in on her. The choice hung heavy, driving her forward toward confrontation. As the applause faded, Sarah could feel the weight of the room pressing against her chest. The euphoria intended for Lily transformed into a suffocating shroud that wrapped around her tightly. She had to move, had to confront her sister before the opportunity slipped away, like sand through her fingers. A surge of adrenaline propelled her out of her seat. She forgot the reservations, forgot the fear, and focused on the singular truth that bubbled to the surface. The cost of Lily's success felt too high for Sarah to bear. Navigating through the throngs of jubilant graduates, she caught glimpses of the prideful smiles directed towards Lily. Each cheerful shout from their friends felt like a taunt, a reminder that this celebration was also a funeral for the Mustang's legacy. It was a freefall into the unknown. Would she plunge into the depths of their fractured relationship, or could she help it soar once again? When she finally reached Lily, whose whole face radiated joy, Sarah hesitated. The sister standing before her was almost foreign. She had seen her transformed, This wasn't the Lily she had played with in the backyard. This was an accomplished woman stepping into a world captivated by ambition. There was so much to say, but the words tangled in her throat, twisting into anger and grief. Lily's eyes glimmered as she spotted Sarah, a warm smile crossing her face. "Sarah, did you see me?" They loved my speech. But the enthusiasm in her voice felt detached, a reminder of all that had transpired. "Yeah, I saw," Sarah replied, forcing a neutral tone despite the storm raging inside her. "What did you think?" Lily's gaze was bright for recognition but dimming with uncertainty, as she sensed the uncharacteristic chill in Sarah's words. "I think you should have thought twice before selling the Mustang," Sarah blurted out, her voice shaking with pent-up emotion. The words were as raw as gravel, but she felt an immediate rush of liberation as she spoke them. The eruption felt necessary. It had to be done. For a moment, confusion crossed Lily's face, as if Sarah had slapped her. "What? That's what you're upset about? It was just a car. It would have only held me back." "Just a car?" Sarah couldn't disguise the incredulity in her tone. "You sold a piece of our father. You sold our connection." The tremors of her voice threatened to betray her, but she fought to hold on. Lily's eyes narrowed slightly. "You're letting nostalgia blind you, Sarah. It was a burden, not a blessing. That money helped me chase my dreams, and Dad wanted me to succeed. What he would have wanted is for us to remember him together, not drown in your ambition." As her own words echoed back at her, Sarah's heart raced. It dawned on her that she was not just fighting for the memory of a car. She was grappling with an identity that felt threatened. The Mustang represented shared moments. They were intertwined in its legacy, now seemingly frayed. "We can't erase who he was just because you're redefining who you want to be." Lily turned away, jaw clenched, as if she were processing the weight of everything Sarah had just thrown at her. The moment hung like a pendulum, swinging precariously between reconciliation and irreparable divide. Sarah took a deep breath, seeking clarity in a moment of chaos, but uncertainty clouded the air. "Maybe you're right about Dad wanting us to succeed," Sarah continued, lowering her voice, exposing a vulnerability she had tried to hide. "But I want you to succeed grounded in our past. I just don't know how to accept this future without him, without us." Lily's body language softened slightly, but uncertainty lingered in her eyes. It was clear. Their reconnection hinged on an unresolved truth that needed to surface. As they stood there, the crowd slowly dissipated, the bright lights dimming around them. Sarah came to understand that this was far from over. The fissures in their relationship felt deeper than the immediate quarrel. They were rooted in unaddressed grief, ambition, and legacy. A decision loomed large before Sarah. Would she continue the confrontation, further exposing their fractured bond, or illuminate a path of healing from a painful truth? At that moment, a sense of urgency settled over her. "We must talk further, Lily. We need to understand each other." But would she be ready to share the depths of her hurt, or would their painful history continue to drive a wedge between them? The air thickened with unspoken questions. Their future hung precariously, as Sarah internally braced for the clash of their priorities. As the gravity of their conversation expanded, a weighty revelation lingered. The real confrontation was still yet to come. The moment of understanding seemed closer than ever. But would it arrive before they lost everything? The somber aftermath of the celebration echoed around them like an unwanted ghost, settling heavily on Sarah's shoulders. She felt the distance of years between herself and the vibrant sister before her. As they stood in strained silence, the clamor of graduates was reduced to a murmur, yet the tableau of pride and triumph lingered in stark contrast to their unfolding turmoil. "Sarah, what do you want from me?" Lily's voice broke the stillness, laced with frustration. It struck at Sarah's chest, a plea pressed with equal parts exasperation and vulnerability. "I want you to see me," Sarah replied, her voice just above a whisper, tinged with urgency. "I want you to understand that you're not just chasing a dream. You're leaving everything behind: our past, our family. You need to reconcile who you are now with the roots you're severing." Lily crossed her arms defensively. "You think I don't care about my past? I lived in that shadow. I'm trying to move forward." "Forward doesn't mean erasing," Sarah argued, frustration bubbling to the surface again. "You're erasing us and the memories of what we had. Can't you see that this isn't just about you?" The anger that had flared within Lily began to dim, replaced by a painful recognition of the rift that had formed between them. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to forget my dreams? As silence enveloped them once more, Sarah felt the layers of her resentment peel away. It was not simply Lily's ambition that troubled her, it was something deeper. I just want us to remember together, she said, the weight of her heart laid bare. Can we blend the past with our dreams? I don't want to lose you in this process. Blend? Lily echoed, eyebrows furrowing. How do I blend what you call our past with my future? My ambition is an integral part of who I need to become. I'm not asking you to dim your light. Sarah snapped, then softened her tone. But can't you see that ambition is ripping us apart? We built something that could be greater together. Lily's expression softened, though her defenses remained poised. It's not easy, Sarah. I don't want to be held back. I need to achieve. But it seems like in doing so, I've lost sight of what we had. A gust of wind ruffled the leaves around them, mirroring the turmoil in Sarah's heart. She realized how easy it had been to view their conflict solely through her lens of hurt, rather than seeing Lily's humanity, the same struggle for identity and purpose. Maybe we can redefine our past, Sarah suggested. What if we find a way to honor Dad without letting it drown us? You could tell your story, include the Mustang. Bring it back into the light. Make it a part of this success you're chasing. Lily's eyes glimmered curiously. The spark of a new idea flickered in her gaze. But it's more than that, right? I need to start a new legacy while tethering to the old. Would doing that really work? It can, Sarah proposed, excitement swelling within her. But only if we're willing to be honest about our needs. This isn't just your journey. It's ours, and each step can include the love and history we share. For the first time, the tension between them felt like a narrow path, fraught yet navigable. Lily's guard began to drop as she understood the foundation for their reunion was not merely built on past grievances, but on mutual recognition and respect. What if I made the Mustang part of my application? A sort of statement honoring Dad and our relationship? The idea danced between them, possibilities crackling like electricity, but Sarah hesitated. What's stopping you from doing that now, Lily? You're holding the key to your future, and it involves us both. But what will it cost? Lily's face twisted with uncertainty as the truth of the moment gleamed. I have to face it. It's about the cost of my ambition versus my connection to home. And maybe I'm not ready to answer that fully. The air thickened again with unresolved tension. The resolve to bridge their divide hung in the balance, yet uncertainty haunted Sarah. Would Lily be able to merge her dreams with the roots they shared? Suddenly, an internal weight arose within Sarah, as she recognized a path forward, one filled with personal reckoning and accountability. As she surveyed the remnants of their recent discord, something new flickered in her consciousness. What if Lily wasn't the only one who needed to face the past? What had she cloaked in safety to avoid confronting? A sense of urgency unfurled in her heart. Her own journey was interconnected with Lily's. Let us not put this off. We both need to confront our truths, Sarah urged. Her mind settled on the uncharted territories they needed to brave together. The exhilaration of this possibility filled her with determination, but it came with the realization that vulnerable conversations often extracted a cost of their own. Would they be ready to embrace the discomfort needed to grow stronger together? Sarah could feel the pivotal moment drawing near, a convergence of their scars and strength that promised to alter everything, yet left an echo of uncertainty hanging tightly in the air. The morning sun cast long shadows as Sarah stood in her bedroom, a cacophony of thoughts swirling around her. Having left the confrontation with Lily unresolved, feelings of urgency morphed into a palpable ache. She stared at the clutter strewn across her desk, remnants of half-completed projects and strained memories. The Mustang, her father's proud possession, a living testament to their shared history, loomed larger now in her mind. What would it mean if she were to confront its legacy more openly? A part of her had always feared that acknowledging the Mustang would render her powerless, a relic of their past that would hold her back. Yet, as she rummaged through the papers on her desk, she felt a flicker of determination. What if I used that car to demonstrate my own growth? She questioned silently. The inner dialogue took shape. Surely, if she could transform that memory into something impactful, perhaps she could reclaim her narrative. Sarah's fingers brushed against an old notebook filled with her thoughts on family dynamics, dreams, and ambitions. Crammed between the pages was a letter from her father, a letter she had read countless times but had never truly absorbed. It detailed his hopes for her future, intertwined with anecdotes from his past, including tales of the Mustang's adventures. She could feel the weight of his love embedded in the ink, pulling her back to the foundation upon which her identity was built. The nostalgia stirred unfamiliar sensations within her. Maybe it wasn't just about Lily's ambition tearing them apart. It was also about her own avoidance of vulnerability. If embracing their shared history with the Mustang meant stepping forward into the light, would she dare do it? Questions raced through her mind, but the main one pressed closer to the forefront. How would Lily respond? Sarah envisioned her sister's face, the mix of pride and frustration, and the turbulent pathway to understanding that lay before them. They were entangled, yet perhaps this knot of ambition and legacy could be unraveled if only they were willing to confront their individual truths. Feeling emboldened, she decided to craft a presentation that blended their narratives, a tribute to their father, their family, and an exploration of their own ambitions. The thought galvanized her. This was her opportunity to reconnect with her sister, to shed the bitterness that had built up over the years. She grabbed her laptop and began drafting a plan, incorporating images of the Mustang, interweaving quotes from her father's letter and her own words. She felt the energy flow through her fingertips. As she pieced together the timeline of their lives, the anxiety that had settled in the pit of her stomach began to dissipate. Instead of fragmentation, she was creating a tapestry, a bridge that could unite them, showing how ambition could flourish without the need to sever ties. But was this really enough? She paused, her chest tightening as doubt crawled back into her thoughts. What if Lily rejected her attempt? Could she bear to face Lily's disappointment once more? But just as quickly, another realization broke through. This wasn't just for Lily. It was for herself, a reckoning to emerge from under the weight of unspoken expectations. With each keystroke, she felt herself growing stronger, a woman not defined solely by her sister, nor eclipsed by childhood memories. This presentation was an opportunity to affirm her own voice in a dialogue that had long been dominated by silence. The sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting hues of orange and pink across her room. She took a deep breath, allowing the adrenaline of inspiration to wash over her. If she was going to confront their shared past, to forge a new way forward layered with hope and respect, she had to prepare for the possibility of vulnerability, of risking everything for the sake of both their dreams. As the sun faded and the first stars appeared, Sarah felt an unfurling of purpose within herself. The journey ahead had yet to be fully charted, but would bear the weight of their history riddled with complexities. The notion of her father's Mustang representing rebirth felt increasingly real, a phoenix rising from the ashes. Could she truly do this? The question lingered like a whisper in her mind, a challenge laid bare. Resolving to face both Lily and their family history, she committed herself to action, one that could lead to a profound transformation. And just as she topped her presentation with a hopeful ending, a new thought struck her. What if their family dynamic was still evolving? What if her confrontation with Lily could redefine not just their relationship, but reshape the identities they had forged separately? The moment of truth was now rapidly approaching, one that would demand both vulnerability and fortitude. Would they meet it together or deepen the divide they had only begun to bridge? The future hovered on the edge of uncertainty, and Sarah was ready to confront whatever awaited her. Sarah awoke the next morning with a fierce determination coursing through her. The muted sunlight spilled into her room, illuminating the clutter still lingering on her desk. Today marked the beginning of her presentation prep, a practical step toward dismantling the anxieties that clung to her legacy. It felt like a distillation of what she wanted to communicate, the entangled histories and ambitions of herself and Lily. As she sat before her laptop, she opened her father's letter again. Heart racing, she reread the parts that resonated the most, the hopes he had for both of his daughters. Every word felt like a gentle nudge toward the confrontation she was neglecting. No longer could she shy away from talking to Lily with honesty and vulnerability. It was as if her father's spirit prodded her to acknowledge that confrontations could be catalysts for growth, not just friction. With a cup of coffee in hand, she set a timer, determined to create a productive space. The screen flickered, brightening her resolve. As she browsed photos of their childhood, memories encroached on her thoughts. The adventures they had shared, the laughter, and the inevitable disagreements. She began to think deeply about what those memories had taught her. Rewriting the narrative started with acknowledging the power of those moments. One image caught her eye: her younger self sitting in the driver's seat of the Mustang, a beaming smile wrapping around her face as if the car itself was infused with her father's joy. That moment, once simple, now felt laden with significance. How had she let that feeling disappear under layers of resentment? Grasping this thought, she decided this presentation wouldn't just be a collage for her sister. It would also serve as a manifesto for her own growth and acceptance. She would create segments that shared the pressing question of ambition: how to pursue one's dreams without losing sight of family ties. But an objection arose: was she deserving of this new voice? A flicker of doubt passed, reminding her of all the times she felt sidelined. Her mind flashed back to Lily's successes, all the accolades overshadowing her humble attempts in the shadow of that legacy. Yet that only urged her further. Sarah was not merely a passive participant in this narrative. She had created life for herself through her imperfections, and those could be the very tools to build newfound strength. The day dragged by, punctuated by bouts of creativity that occasionally sputtered into self-doubt. Even as she laid out a clear structure for her presentation, beginning with stories of their father, continuing with their unique journeys, and culminating in a powerful call for reconciliation, her heart felt heavy. Could she handle Lily's reactions? What if their talk spiraled into conflict? Sarah squashed that hesitation, adamant that avoidance would stymie her growth. Confrontation, however arduous, would yield the revelation both sisters desperately needed. As night settled and the curtain of silence cloaked her surroundings, she allowed herself a moment of reflection. Was this merely an endeavor to seek approval, or was it about self-actualization? The realization hit her like a gust of wind: this was her chance to reshape identity and assert her significance, not just for their shared history but for her own awakening. Once the final touches were added to her outline, anticipation set in. This was no longer an obligation. It was a reflection of her reclaiming family threads from the tapestry of her past. With a purposeful click, she saved the document that felt less like a project and more like a piece of herself unfolding. But upon lifting her gaze from the screen, that familiar question lurked again. Did Lily stand ready to embrace this version of Sarah? As the clock ticked away the minutes until their confrontation, anxiety intermingled with hope. What awaited her next was fraught with unpredictability. With the impending engagement looming, Sarah wondered if this was the moment they would finally untangle the complexity of their relationship, or risk entrenchment in old patterns. Each heartbeat resonated like a countdown. Would they clash? Or could they finally embrace the journey toward a shared future? The following morning brought a quiet resolve to Sarah as she adjusted her hair and smoothed down the blouse she had chosen, a subtle nod to her pursuit of professionalism. She caught her reflection in the hallway mirror and paused. The woman staring back was different. She seemed more intent on her purpose than she ever had in her life. Stepping outside, Sarah felt a mild breeze wrapping around her, a marker of transition that mirrored her internal state. She was no longer just a sister defined by her father's legacy. She was carving a path forward, filled with the determination to confront Lily in a way that had previously been unimaginable. As she walked to the coffee shop, the familiar clamor of voices echoed around her. People were engaged in mundane conversations, but within Sarah, the world felt charged, electric with the promise of change. Each step was a reminder that today was not just about a presentation. It was a call to action, a call to acknowledge her voice in the familial narrative. Settling into a small corner table with her favorite latte, she pulled out her notes. The coffee shop buzzed with life, but her focus remained laser-sharp, studying her outline with an unwavering gaze. She wanted to ensure every segment not only told their story, but also revealed her own transformation, the challenges that had previously stifled her ambitions. The looming confrontation with Lily weighed heavily on her like a thick fog. Memories of times she had shied away from difficult conversations surfaced. Each incident painted a vivid picture of a younger Sarah, often the peacekeeper, forever prioritizing Lily's comfort over her own feelings. That was no longer an option. This time she would fortify herself with vulnerability, ensuring that what needed to be said came through as clear and emphatic. With a deep breath, she glanced at her laptop. The structure was solid. Stories of their father's dreams entwined with Lily's achievements would establish a foundation. However, what she feared most was vulnerability. What if sharing her hidden struggles revealed a fracture, rather than a bridge between them. Yet doubt ignited a deeper resolve within her. This was not merely an attempt to voice her grievances. It was a unique opportunity to show Lily the wealth of her experiences, the frustrations and small victories coursing beneath the surface. She wouldn't shy away from her insecurities but lean into them as she composed her thoughts into powerful phrases. Sarah realized that she had never given herself the grace to embrace her journey fully. Each struggle had been a stepping stone toward strength rather than a deterrent. A half-smile crept across her face. She recognized the profound personal development reflecting in her work. Time slipped away in the coffee shop, and as she closed her laptop, a wave of uncertainty washed over her. Anticipation mixed with trepidation. What if this was a path to confrontation or an opportunity for a breakthrough? Even with the tension pulling at her nerves, Sarah could already sense the potential for healing, the reward of honesty. Emerging from the cafe, she felt lighter, the weight of indecision falling away. She realized that if she wanted to embrace the future, she needed to get comfortable with discomfort. There's power in branding herself as an equal in this narrative. Hers was a voice that deserved to be heard just as much as Lily's. As the time drew near for their meeting, she sensed a shift in her emotional landscape. Suddenly, something stirred deep within, a fear that this new authentic self might not be embraced by the sister she longed to connect with. Sarah tightened her grip on the situation. Perhaps the only way to truly evolve was to face the risks head-on. And yet, even as she prepared herself for the confrontation, one question lingered: could they navigate the complexities of their relationship together? Or would this moment reveal deeper fractures than either could anticipate? All she could do was embrace the unease and engage in the conversation, hoping it would be the moment of reckoning that began to heal old wounds. As she drove toward their meeting point, her heart quickened. The thought of what lay ahead felt akin to standing on the precipice of a precipice. Would she confidently face Lily, ready to reveal herself, or would she step back into the shadows of her past? The possibility hinged on the choice she was about to make. As she pulled into the parking lot, Sarah's heart raced, each beat echoing the weight of her purpose. The cafe had infused her with resolve, but now, under the fluorescent lights of the building where she would meet Lily, doubts crept back in, wrapping around her thoughts like an unsettling fog. She flicked off the ignition, the sudden silence amplifying her apprehension. This was the moment she had prepared for, yet each second felt like a suspended eternity. Outside the entrance, a pair of metal doors swung open, revealing the unmistakable silhouette of Lily, her confident stride instantly contrasting with Sarah's uncertain nature. Sarah couldn't help but flinch, a gloss of anxiety settling over her ideas of confrontation. Was she truly ready, or was this all a mirage dancing in her mind? Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped inside, anchoring herself with the knowledge of her hard-fought evolution. She could see the traces of their shared past in Lily's demeanor: determination, ambition, but also a hint of defensiveness. The scene was set, and she realized as much as this confrontation was about the unearthed distinctions in their narratives, it was also about reconciling with her own identity. "Hey Sarah," Lily greeted her, a blend of warmth and wariness threading through her tone. "Thanks for meeting me." "Of course." Sarah found her voice crack slightly, but she squared her shoulders, determined to steady herself. "I thought it was important to talk." They eased into a booth and a silence enveloped them, heavy with unspoken words. Sarah glanced around the room, seeking distractions. The laughter of other patrons felt like an alien world, one she could barely break free into. Yet here sat Lily, and here sat her truth. "I know that we've drifted apart," Sarah began, the revelation igniting her determination. "But I'm not here to blame you. I just want us to talk, really talk." Lily's brows furrowed slightly, her expression shifting to one of caution. "What do you mean?" This was where the courage Sarah had summoned would either burst forth or crumble beneath pressure. "You've always been the successful one, the one everybody celebrated. I feel like I'm still searching for my place. I want you to understand that I've faced my own obstacles too." There was a flicker of surprise in Lily's eyes, a crack in the protective armor she had carefully constructed. "You never told me that. And maybe I didn't want to. I've been scared," Sarah admitted, the words rolling off her tongue, creating an atmosphere ripe with honesty. "Scared that you wouldn't see me or hear me. Scared that my struggles would seem less than yours. But I've realized that my path matters as much as yours, it's just different." Lily seemed to lean back, absorbing the weight of Sarah's vulnerability. She searched for words, but they flitted around like anxious birds. Sarah could sense the shift, the potential rekindling of a lost connection. But questions lingered like uninvited guests. Would Lily respond with empathy? Or would she retreat behind the fortress of her achievements? The stakes had never felt higher. And frankly, it hurts, Sarah continued, her voice steadying. It hurts to feel like I'm living in someone else's shadow. At that moment, something inside Sarah shifted. It was as if a dam had burst open within her, a release of years of pent-up frustration and longing for authentic connection. She could either allow this moment to fester in unresolved tension or choose to confront the real issue, no matter the risk. Lily's silence became an inviting space. Hope bubbled up within Sarah, acknowledging that perhaps this wasn't just about revealing herself to Lily, but about claiming her own place in their story, a story that was co-authored, not one-sided. As uncertainty lingered between them, Sarah wondered, would this conversation dissolve the barriers of resentment that had grown so thick, or would it simply unveil deeper fissures? Each moment felt pivotal, teetering on the edge of discovery. What Sarah didn't realize was that they were about to peel back layers of vulnerability that could expose hidden truths neither had anticipated. The air grew thick with tension, the stakes palpable. Sarah's heart raced as she watched Lily process the enormity of what had just been laid bare. Her vulnerability hovered between them, a fragile thread connecting their histories. The silence felt both burdensome and liberating. Would Lily reciprocate her honesty or retreat once more? Sarah, I didn't know, Lily finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I honestly thought you had everything figured out. I never meant to make you feel that way. The sincerity in Lily's eyes cut through Sarah's apprehension, igniting a flicker of hope. I think I've been so focused on your achievements that I forgot to share my own struggles, Sarah confessed, her words tinged with the bravery she was claiming in this moment. It seems easier to celebrate you while hiding away my fears like they don't matter. But they do. Lily leaned in, intrigued. What fears? You've always been the one who stood up for herself. I admired that about you. There it was, her strength acknowledged. Yet the weight of Sarah's unspooled insecurities still loomed large. But what about the choices I made? The paths I didn't take? I let self-doubt rule me for too long, thinking I wasn't worthy of the same level of success or recognition. And when I see you thriving, it's a reminder of everything I've yet to accomplish. For a moment, Lily appeared contemplative. A reflection of her own past rolled into Sarah's words. My life isn't perfect either. I feel like I'm always battling this pressure to maintain my status, constantly trying to prove I'm worthy of it all. Their shared experiences emerged like flickers of lightning in a dark storm, illuminating aspects of each other they had overlooked. Sarah seized this moment to confront not only Lily's perceptions, but her own convoluted sense of self. We've both been on journeys that feel like measuring sticks against one another. Yet, somewhere along the way, I forgot that it's not about winning a race, it's about personal growth. The conversation shifted, revealing mutual truths that began to erode the walls they had each built. Sarah realized the fragility of expectation, not just for herself but for Lily too. She found herself wondering how much they had missed in terms of support, misplaced by a veneer of ambition. But do we have to keep measuring ourselves against each other? Lily probed, her voice tinged with an eager vulnerability. What if we looked at this differently? Sarah responded, empowered by her newfound resolve. What if we became each other's allies in this rather than rivals? We could share what we've learned, help lift each other up, rather than letting comparisons drag us down. A flicker of a smile broke across Lily's face, as if Sarah had turned on a light in a darkened room. You mean work together? Help each other grow where we feel weak? Yes, Sarah affirmed, her heart swelling with an unfamiliar sense of purpose. Learning from each other could be the greatest gift we give ourselves. Why not celebrate progress instead of rankings? Each word echoed with sincerity, a truth long obscured. Yet as they ventured deeper into this conversation, a sense of urgency began to bubble beneath the surface. The depths of their relationship had the potential to be explosive, blooming into a partnership that could amplify both their paths, but might also expose unexamined rivalries that lingered beneath. As they sat across from one another, the vulnerability woven into the fabric of their conversation provided no guarantees. They had parted ways once, but the true test of this rekindled connection loomed ahead. Would they emerge from this moment unified? Or would resentments bubble to the surface, threatening to tear apart what they had begun to rebuild? The weight of the unanswered hung heavily in the air. What if this is just the beginning? Sarah asked. Her curiosity piqued. Lily's eyes narrowed in a mix of apprehension and intrigue. What do you mean? Sarah took a breath, the thrill of possibility dancing in her veins. I mean, what if we dared to confront not only our past but our future too together? A tense silence fell over them, each contemplating the transformation that lay ahead, both anxious and eager for what revelations awaited in their partnership. The soft murmur of the cafe around them faded into the background as Sarah's mind buzzed with the implications of her proposition. Together, there was comfort in the idea, yet an undeniable undercurrent of fear twisted in her gut. Could they really support each other in a genuine way? Or would the specter of competition linger like a shadow, tainting their every interaction? As the moment stretched, Sarah's excitement shifted to anxiety. She had built walls around herself for years, and letting someone in required a leap of faith. Each heartbeat echoed her doubts. Had she genuinely changed? Or was she simply grasping at straws? Lily's voice jolted her back. Are you really suggesting that we become accountability partners? Like set personal goals together and check in? There was both enthusiasm and skepticism in her tone, and Sarah could see the gears turning behind her eyes. Exactly, Sarah replied, her tone firmer. We can create systems that hold us accountable, reflect on our progress, share setbacks, and celebrate victories. I want us to ensure we don't slip back into those cycles of doubt and insecurity. We owe it to ourselves. Lily leaned back, contemplating this new direction. The idea of partnering up was not just inviting, it felt like a lifeline. Yet beneath the surface, Sarah could sense an unease within Lily too, an unspoken fear of opening herself up to potential disappointment not only in Sarah but in herself. Is that really something you want to do? I don't want to drag you down or for you to feel like you need to babysit me, Lily replied, her gaze steady and searching. The challenge lay in stripping away the layers of doubt that held them captive. The question hung thick in the air, stirring Sarah to reflect on her own hesitations. This was not about obligation, it was an opportunity for transformation. I know what it feels like to carry burdens alone, and it's exhausting. Helping each other could become a source of strength, she said, the sincerity of her conviction warming her resolve. All right, Lily finally agreed, a mix of excitement and trepidation in her smile. But let us be clear. For doing this, we're going all in. No holding back. We need to be brutally honest with each other about our fears and ambitions. The challenge was set, and it thrilled Sarah to think they might forge a bond that wasn't built on envy but rather mutual understanding. Time passed as they sketched out the blueprint of their partnership, setting timelines, defining goals, and establishing check-in points. The more they talked, the more Sarah's apprehensions faded. A newfound clarity began to take shape within her. This was about harnessing their shared energy to propel each other forward rather than dragging one another down. But as they laid plans, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing at the edge of a precipice, and the real test remained just beyond view. Would their partnership be robust enough to endure the realities of their ambitions? They might stumble upon hidden truths about themselves that could either solidify their bond or drive them apart. Okay, Lily said, breaking into Sarah's thoughts. This will be a journey, and we might uncover things that make us uncomfortable. There was a weight to her observation, one that suggested both vulnerability and risk. I'm ready to face it all, Sarah replied, adrenaline sparking her determination. Was she really prepared for the challenges that awaited? Deep inside, she knew she might have to confront parts of herself she'd kept buried for far too long. As they exchanged those words, a new ambience surrounded them, one brimming with potential yet underlined by the uncertainty of what lay ahead. They were about to embark on a mutual exploration that could lead to self-discovery and growth. But in venturing into this uncharted territory, Sarah felt the gravity of possible truths that might emerge, ones that could profoundly reshape their friendship. A true partnership often exposes more than just goals, Sarah said contemplatively. What if confronting our realities changes everything we know about ourselves? The electric charge in the air thickened, as both women sat with the weight of that question. Would they be ready for the revelations that awaited them on this path? The real journey had only just begun, and Sarah felt that their next steps might lead to trails darker and deeper than they anticipated. The thrill of uncertainty teetered between them. "Let us see where this takes us," Lily finally said, her voice laced with determination. As Sarah nodded in agreement, a crucial point crystallized in her mind: transformation can only happen with the courage to embrace the full spectrum of who they are. The moment of truth beckoned them closer, and their next encounter loomed, rich with promise and peril. The following weeks flowed like a dynamic river, their once contrived ambitions evolving into a shared journey, rich with new understanding. Sarah and Lily embraced the practice of regular check-ins, where they navigated aspirations and hurdles as teammates rather than rivals. The conversations transformed. No longer were they monologues filled with hidden bitterness. Instead, they blossomed into dialogues fraught with mutual respect. Sarah found herself articulating thoughts that had simmered beneath the surface for far too long. Each interaction felt as if she was regained the digital blueprint of who she always wanted to be: confident, capable, and grounded in her own truth. In meetings, Sarah noticed how she began edge closer to stating her worth without hesitation. She felt validated. During one of their many sit-downs at the coffee shop, Sarah shared a revelation that had struck her one night while recalling memories of their father. "Lily, I think we had it wrong. It never was about competition between us. Dad always wanted more for us, and he'd be so proud that we're learning to harmonize our paths instead." The clarity shone through every word. Lily's brows furrowed slightly, her expression indulging in contemplation. "I guess in some way all I saw was his legacy as a burden I had to escape." The laughter that had once filled their conversations had become a bridge to healing. As they exchanged personal anecdotes of struggles and failures, it was evident they each carried pieces of their father's legacy, interwoven through shared resilience and ambition. They were redefining their father's memory, reclaiming the Mustang not just as an object, but as a symbol of their journey toward self-acceptance. Months rolled on, and Sarah methodically gained confidence in her aspirations, the shadows of her insecurities diminishing as she harnessed the power of collaboration. While she had wrestled with articulating her professional desires and career goals, it was no longer an exercise in vulnerability, it was a testament to her growth. One crisp afternoon, standing in front of a local business council with a presentation in hand, Sarah exuded an aura of clarity. "Today, I stand before you not just as a businesswoman, but as a woman who now knows the value of embracing both her roots and her ambition. I've learned that my past is not a hindrance. It's fuel." The audience leaned in, captivated by her transformation, a woman finally standing confident in her identity, openly addressing her journey. That moment, she recognized her potential not only to articulate her narrative, but to inspire others. And as she wrapped up her presentation, echoing how the Mustang had represented familial bonds and challenges, pride surged within her. A slew of congratulatory emails and accolades followed, affirming her newfound position within the community: a thriving professional, recognized not just for her family lineage, but for her contributions and ideals. Meanwhile, Lily began to see a shift in her own narrative, spurred on by Sarah's determination. Inspired, she started incorporating the values of their past into her present, infusing the stories of their father into her academic research. "I've decided to write a thesis on the impact of familial legacy on personal ambition," Lily announced one afternoon, glowing with enthusiasm. "And I'm weaving in the story of the Mustang. It symbolizes everything." Sarah couldn't help but smile, overcome by the depth of Lily's transformation. It was as if the plane of their relationship had emerged from the depths of uncertainty, finding solid ground in their shared ambitions, rather than fragmented existence. The concluding milestone of their journey surfaced at a community showcase. Both sisters stood side by side, presenting the very stories that had once divided them. The Mustang, displayed as a centerpiece, shimmered under the lights, a visual representation of their growth. "This car encapsulates our journey, our father's legacy, and the limitless potential we hold when we operate as a team," Sarah declared, her voice steady and proud. The crowd erupted in applause, an external affirmation of what Sarah felt inside: the culmination of not just her achievements, but the vibrant partnership she had forged with Lily along the way. As they stepped off the stage, the embrace that followed was more than a celebration of success. It was a recognition of their transformed bond. They were not mere sisters entwined in the past. They had evolved into allies, forging their futures together with renewed vigor. Having conquered their internal battles, Sarah and Lily had each proved that individual growth was never the result of exclusion, but of collaboration. They stood not only recognized in their respective fields but, above all, fulfilled, having gracefully balanced ambition with their familial identity. For the first time in a long time, Sarah breathed a sigh of relief, knowing she was finally standing at the intersection of her past and future, confident, competent, and truly recognized. A deep satisfaction washed over her. She had harmonized her roots with her ambitions while navigating the complexities of sisterhood. Their journey had been fierce, but it made evident that true strength lay not in the solitary pursuit of dreams, but in the will to lift one another toward shared aspirations. It is time for you to step into your own journey of growth. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.